All right, I'm going to get going. It's 10 o'clock. Welcome to class 10W. I'm just going to cover you on a few of the logistics. First of all, I did state that I would give you an extension on the work that is due. Today we will be covering the second of the four Ps, which has everything to do with the place that a product is located. And I'm pulling up on the screen, you will see what is due and when. And there are three worksheets I will be going over with you today. Worksheet 20, 21, and 22, and they all have to do with the place that a business is located. These will all be due from you by Friday. Please do remember that in order to get them into me and for me to give you credit, they need to be attached to your school email and sent to my email address at si.hobden@hasla.org.uk. So today we're going to be looking at the second of the four Ps. The first one, as you remember, was product. The second one is place. And there are a number of factors that affect place. First of all, customer location. Secondly, where your raw materials are. If you have a tangible product, which means obviously a product that you can hold, then it is made from something. And the location of the materials that go into making it is absolutely critical for you being able to produce and sell that product. Another factor is transportation and infrastructure links. Where are you going to be located, and how can you quickly get your product to as many customers as possible? And lastly is availability of staff, where you will find people to literally either produce your good, if it's a tangible product, or deliver your service if it's an intangible product. We're also going to be looking at channels of distribution, how you get those products out to customers. Do you go through an agent? Do you go through a wholesaler? Do you go through a retailer? Or do you do it directly? And then lastly, we're going to be looking at a growing example of direct distribution through e-commerce and m-commerce. So again, I'm using iAchieve as the basis of this teaching. You have access to it if you want to follow along in iAchieve. It is page number 7 of session 2 in unit 1. Page number 7, session 2, unit 1. Again, if there are any questions that come up, please do place them in the chat, and I will look at the chat periodically and respond to any questions. So again, we are looking at the second of the four Ps, which is place. Where do you locate your business to be most effective? So what I want you to do for a moment, and if you want to do this in iAchieve directly, you can find this on page 7 of session 2. I want you to think about the different products you buy and the services that you use. Where do you go when you want to buy them? And feel free to make some notes in the box below. All of these notes are saved to your iAchieve application. So if you want to pull that up and make some notes in the box on page 7, session 2, please do so. And then save them. I'll give you a couple of minutes and I'll put on a musical interlude while you do this, if I can figure it out. go. Musical interlude while you think about where you buy certain products.
Marketing is how I see you. Marketing is how you see me. Let's get off on the right foot. I'm with the fact is they all about the image. I'm a lyrical physician, integrated vision, dedicated intuition. I do it, I don't wish it. Initiate the mission, execute it with precision and a whole lot of rhythm. Don't ever tell a lie, that's an automatic given. On the fly, don't lie. It takes just a second to own your whole life's living. Be the one to listen, that's an executive decision. Remember the 4 P's, excuse me, that wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. Now let's get back to business, alright? Let me break it down. First you need the product, then you find a place. So you sell it for a price that'll get you free promotion. First you need the product, then you find a place. Sell it for a price that'll earn you free promotion. 4 P's of marketing: product, place, price, and promotion.
Monday.com is a platform to manage your entire market.
All right, enough of that. So going back to where we were on iAchieve, thinking about different products you buy and services you use, where do you go when you want to buy them? Some examples that the application came up with were as follows: shops on the high street, websites on the internet, retail parks, shopping centers, supermarkets, outdoor markets, local convenience shops. What other places did you come up with? I'm suspecting they had a lot to do with e-commerce and m-commerce that we will be talking about shortly. So where you locate a business depends on various different factors. The first factor would be customer location. Where are your customers located and how easy is it to get the product to them? Second factor would be location of raw materials. Particularly if you are providing goods. If goods are your product, then they are made of something. Where is the location of the materials that go into making those goods? Thirdly would be transportation and infrastructure links. Where can you ship your products? How do you get them to your customers? If you're located far away from your customers, then transport and infrastructure, roads, rail lines, planes, ships, all of these are very, very important factors in where you ultimately locate your business. And lastly, availability of staff. Certainly if the work you do is very labor intensive, then the cost of the product you produce depends very, very heavily on what you have to pay staff to produce it. And that becomes a very significant factor. In my previous work experience, I used to run contact centers, places where people would call for customer service. And we were an outsourcing business, and we were not providing a tangible product. So it really didn't matter where our raw materials were because there weren't any. It really didn't matter where our customers were because in this world, with the communications links we now have with the internet, with the telephone being available in every country, mobile, with the mobile revolution, it really didn't matter where the customers were located. What was so important, though, was where the staff was located. And my last assignment was in Guyana, South America, which is the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere to Haiti. And we were located there, quite frankly, because for $1 US an hour, we could find a great availability of labor, an almost endless source of people that would come and work for us very inexpensively, and that impacted the cost that we passed on to the customer. So there are a few, there is a worksheet that has to do with these 4 factors, and it's an opportunity for you to apply those factors and demonstrate that you understand the information. And this is worksheet number 20. And the first example that is mentioned is coffee production that takes place in Colombia. What is the most important factor in where this business is located? Is it customer location? Is it location of raw materials? Is it transport and infrastructure links? Or is it the availability of staff? Well, I'll give you a hint on this. Customer location, most coffee drinkers are located in North America and Europe. So certainly this was not the most important factor in where to locate coffee production that's taking place in Colombia. So which of the other factors was the most important factor? What I'm looking for here is that you can tell me which is the most important, which is the second most, and which is the third most important, and why. And that will get you a maximum mark on this if you're able to do that. The second example is Buxton Spring Water. Well, there's a pretty big hint in the name here, Buxton Spring Water. Where is the company located? And what factors are most important? Another hint here, think about the how much water weighs. If the volume that you have in your body was replaced with nothing but water, would the water be heavier or would you be heavier? The chances are the water would be heavier. So just think about that when it comes to where that business is located and why. And then there's a short quiz. I want you to think about why high unemployment can be a good thing when deciding on the location of a new business. High unemployment is not great for sales, but what is it good for? So think about that and respond to that. What are the advantages and disadvantages of being located near to competitors? Well, there are clearly some advantages, particularly if you're in a highly specialized business. What are those advantages? The disadvantages should be pretty obvious, particularly if you're in a highly competitive job market, hint, hint. So think about what some of the advantages and disadvantages are. Question 3, why can it be a benefit to be located near a raw material? What does that give you when you are close to the raw materials? What costs do you not have? And lastly, or fourthly, suggest a suitable location for the following businesses. Where would you want to locate if you were a dentist? Where would you want to locate if you were a sandwich shop, and why? A car hire firm, where would you want to be and why? A haulage firm, basically taking away waste, if you like. Where would you want to be and why? And then lastly, think about what some of the advantages can be to locating your business overseas. I gave you one example of the business that I was in, the contact center business, but be thinking about what those advantages are. This worksheet, along with the following two, 21 and 22, are all due in to me by Friday of this week. So hopefully some of the hints that I've given you in this recording will assist you with completing that worksheet and getting the best possible mark. Looking next at place and other factors affecting place. One of these other factors is the channel through which you distribute your product. And there are various kinds. There are 4 different channels that we're going to be looking at. Direct distribution, this is the simplest form. This is when you are literally selling your products directly to the end customer with no person in the middle. It is very, very advantageous in terms of you don't have to give your profit margin to a third party to distribute your product. But it also is very involved. You have to make sure that you have customer service people on staff that can deal with your customers directly. And that can be quite challenging if you are a factory business primarily. So it's very advantageous from the standpoint of profit, but it also is very involved from the standpoint of everything you need to focus on to distribute your product yourself. Another form of distribution is retailer distribution. This is when you go through a shop. So you might provide your products to a shop or a set of shops that will then sell them on to the customer. So you don't have to worry about displaying your product in the store. You don't have to worry about packaging it to the customer. The retailer does that directly. But you do have to worry about getting your product to the retailer in enough quantities for them to maximize your sales. The third channel is wholesaler distribution. There's a very, very large wholesaler that I got to visit when I worked at White Rock Convenience Shop that is located up on the ridge. And it basically sells products to other businesses to then sell to their customers. So a lot of convenience shops, for example, use it, buy wholesale at very cheap prices, and then pass on those products for a profit. So what happens here is if you're the producer of a product, you sell to a wholesaler, wholesalers sell to retailers, and then retailers sell to customers. So obviously the wholesaler takes a cut to stay in business, and the retailer takes a cut to stay in business. So this channel can be quite taxing on profit margins, and you need to be able to provide your product or service at the cheapest possible price to the wholesaler while still ensuring that you make some money yourself. So there's an example, lots of food products, for example, are distributed this way. They give an example of baked beans. Heinz are the producers of baked beans, produce millions of tins. They are packaged, they are distributed to a wholesaler who then distributes them in large quantities to a retailer who sells individual tins to the end consumer. So a third example is agents. An agent is a specific organization or individual that you use that sells your product in return for a commission. So they're very, very often engaged not in goods so much, that would be more wholesalers, but they're engaged in the sale of services. For example, travel agents. They are not the airline, they're not the hotel, they're not the car rental company, but they're an agent that sits in between them and the customer. So that is another method of distribution. So these methods of distribution, you're going to be asked to look at in some detail on the next worksheet, which is due on Friday. Again, all 3 worksheets to do with place are due Friday. And this worksheet is number 21. So on number 21, the first question is, you're charting the journey of the product to the end user. And you've got an example, which is Dresses or Us. They make dresses in New York. And what are the different channels of distribution that they could use? Looking at those 4 different channels, what different channels of distribution could they use? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of each? I'd like to see at least 1 advantage and 1 disadvantage for each channel of distribution. So the first one, let's say it's direct distribution. Well, some of the advantages are obviously maximizing their profits. But the disadvantages are they have to get into aspects of the business that get very complex, because they're not just making the dresses, but they're also working out how to distribute them to the customer. So those are the examples. Again, each one of these squares should have a channel of distribution, and then at least 1 advantage and 1 disadvantage for each. Secondly, you've got a similar example. This is an egg farmer in Somerset. He produces 6,000, well, he doesn't, the chickens produce 6,000 eggs per day. And what are the different channels of distribution he could use? What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of each one? And then lastly, you're asked to research online shopping. How much do consumers in the UK spend online, and what portion is spent online via e-commerce? You'll find out this is an incredibly large amount, and it's rapidly growing. And the coronavirus crisis that we're in has certainly helped online shopping. As you know, a lot of us are doing our shopping online now because we have no alternative. There is no shop that's open for us to visit. And so this is driving e-commerce very heavily. So next, if you take a look back again on iAchieve, we're going to be looking at e-commerce. So e-commerce is simply another way in which organizations can distribute their products and services to customers. It is a direct distribution method very often, in that they control the website and they also produce the product. Sometimes there are the equivalent of wholesalers or retailers. For example, Amazon is a retailer online. They don't ultimately produce any of the products that they are selling, or at least most of the products that they're selling. That's not strictly true. They do have a couple of Amazon branded products, but most of their products they are distributing as an online retailer. So e-commerce is quite complex. It can be direct, but it also can be through other parties. So think about any advantages and or disadvantages of e-commerce for sellers and buyers, and be thinking about what you don't have as a buyer when you are buying online. What can you not do that you could do in a retail shop? Likewise, what can you do online that you can't do in a retail shop? So one example would be that I can think of is I can't touch and feel a good, a tangible item. I can't take a taste sample of a food that I'm going to buy online. So I have to know that I'm going to like it before I buy it. But likewise, there are lots of advantages to buying online. I can't, in a retail shop, instantly compare all of the prices across the internet for that particular product in a second. And I can do that online. So think about what some of the advantages and disadvantages are, and then click on these icons. So advantages of e-commerce. Gives organizations the potential to reach and sell customers around the world. Even a small business has a global reach with e-commerce. An organization can increase sales and customer numbers without a great investment in costs. You don't have to open more shops or open more factories. You just continue to expand online. You can move easily into new markets for your product. You can be open and available to customers around the clock, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And for customers using e-commerce, that means they can shop for products at a time and place that suits them. They don't have to worry about when the shop is open. And obviously, in a situation like we're in, where the shop isn't open, but you can buy from them online, as long as it's delivered to you and you don't have to go anywhere. Well, this is obviously why e-commerce is doing so well out of the current situation. Another advantage to customers is that e-commerce allows them to more easily compare prices, products, features, and benefits, so that they can make better buying decisions. So looking at disadvantages, need for different skills within an organization. For example, e-commerce sites require having internet skills, internet marketing skills, a knowledge of how the internet works, of how to use it to distribute products. There can be additional costs for a business as it grows into e-commerce sales. For example, extra staff may be needed to package and mail out the product to customers. And this extra recruitment will come as a cost. If the organization has a website to set up and support, it's going to need to be maintained on a daily basis so that it always has the most accurate information. For customers, e-commerce means that there's often little or no personal contact. So it's a very impersonal shopping experience. And some of us do enjoy the personal interaction and the personal recommendations we get from people that are there to assist us. Some customers feel that it is more difficult to return items, for example, that have been brought online. It is more difficult, obviously, because you've got to get it back to the organization that sent it to you. You can't touch or feel products. We talked about this before. E-commerce is not an option for any customers who want to pay for their purchase with cash. So this is not a cash medium. You have to have some form of electronic payment, and you need access to the internet as well to take full advantage of this. So from there, that is the information that you would use to fill out worksheet 22. And in worksheet 22, you're asked, first of all, what is e-commerce? Second, you're asked, what is m-commerce? And I want you to, when you research m-commerce, think of it as e-commerce, but it's done on an M, a mobile. So what is m-commerce? It's very, very popular among young people. It's the mobile form of e-commerce. So think about what that means and think about when you've used it to buy things, if you have. Why is e-commerce becoming so important? And you can certainly include the current pandemic situation in that if you would like to. Why is the UK government interested in ensuring that everyone has access to the internet? This is now becoming crucial. It's becoming crucial for lessons. It's becoming crucial for shopping. Why is it important that everyone has access? What do you not have access to if you don't have access to the internet? And that will help to shape your answers. Question 5, a website is the most important marketing tool for e-commerce. If you owned a new e-commerce business selling hair products, list 5 important features of your website. So what must your website have if you are selling hair products? Question number 6, what are consumers expecting from online businesses? Think about when you go online to buy something, what do you expect to see? And question 7, a customer advantage of e-commerce is the ability to research and compare prices. How does it impact a business to have your price put up against your competitors' prices instantaneously online? What is crucial to your success in e-commerce from that standpoint? And then lastly, you've got a case study. Julie's Jewelry has 10 shops around across England, and she's finding it hard to make a profit as the rent for her shops is going up every year. Also, less people are visiting local high streets where Julie's shops are situated. Julie has decided to close her shops and create an online store and only sell her jewelry via e-commerce. Give a reason why some customers are going to be disappointed with that decision. Then give a reason why Julie's process can be more competitive online than in the shops. So think about what she can do far better online than she could in a retail shop. And then think about why it's likely to be expensive for her to make this transition. And think about it not just in terms of what she's transitioning from and the expenses associated with closing those shops, but what she is taking on by creating an online store. What does she have to do tomorrow that she doesn't do today? And that should help you get a maximum mark there. And then simply complete the table below. What are the advantages and disadvantages of e-commerce from the standpoint of the business, the person who's selling the products, and the standpoint of the consumer, the person who is buying the products? And that's it. And all 3 of these worksheets are due by Friday. Again, I do urge you to please take it seriously. I have given an extension once on these. I did originally have them due before Easter, but I wanted to give you a little bit more direction on how to get a maximum mark from them. And you have until the end of the week to complete these. Again, please do remember to attach them to an email and send them off to me directly. I'm now going to check in the chat to see if there are any questions. Don't see any questions at all. So I'm going to give you some time back today, 25 minutes. Really appreciate your time today and the fact that you came to this meeting. And I certainly hope that you and your families are safe and secure. And hopefully this situation will be behind us pretty soon. So take care and have an excellent day.